Okay, so let's get started. Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm on the Jason Prepper YouTube channel, frequently called Sean, and I'm here with ThatFrigonHiker, who I'm probably going to refer to as by his first name. We've been friends for something like 30 years, and today we're talking about day hiking packs. And I thought this would be interesting because we do a lot of day hiking, but ThatFrigonHiker hikes primarily in, was it Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New England region?
Yeah, mostly Massachusetts and New Hampshire. Yeah.
And I'm down here in Texas. So I figured this would be kind of interesting to go over our packs and what we normally carry and kind of see what's different and why does my phone have an alarm right now? Okay, sorry about that, folks. Okay. And I can't actually see you, so I'm hoping the recording picks it up. You want to show everybody like what your base pack is and what you have attached on the outside?
So I've gone through a couple the past few years, but my current one that I like the most is this Osprey right here. And I actually, off the top of my, it's 24, yes, it is 24 liters, I believe is the unit of measurement. So it's the size of the day pack I use. And I found that's just about right for my uses. I am by no means ultralight. But I've found this has been the perfect match for, for what I need it for. And yeah, I used to use an REI pack that was a little, I think even a little bit bigger. But I just found that I didn't like the way it opened as much. This one has just a few more dedicated compartments and sections to it that I find a little more logical for how I use a bag.
Okay. So what I'm currently using, and this is mostly an experiment to see if this thing works, is a Force 20-liter pack. Previously, my most used pack was probably their 5-liter pack, as tiny as that sounds. But at the time it had everything I needed. Unfortunately, that one was stolen. And I know they look weird and militaristic, but I just like the layout of where different pouches are or different internally with the pack. And they're freaking bomb-proof. I mean, I've got one of their over 3,000 miles, and it has one tiny rip.
Wow.
And then pull it, so I can't show you that on video, and that model's discontinued. But anyways, okay, let's go to what's on the outside of the packs. Really quickly, I just kind of threw this on for demo purposes, but when I'm hiking in the summer in the area where I expect to be running into stupid people, I will attach a spare water bottle to the outside of my pack. It's silly. This is the nice thing about having a Molly weapon, is an AR-15 double magazine pouch is pretty much perfect for holding a water bottle. This is great.
I love that. That's like, perfect.
People, and you see somebody who's out hiking in 110-degree weather with no water and turning bright red, drink this, and you just have spare water to give away. I normally don't. I just throw that on when I'm outside, in bad weather, in an area I expect to see stupid people. And I also just have my hat on the side so I don't forget it. And so I think I can't see your video, but I'm pretty sure you have something interesting on the outside of your pack.
Yeah, so on mine, I mean, I typically on the outside of the pack, I mostly have, and I'll hold it up to the camera here, unclip it there. I've got my Garmin InReach Mini satellite communicator here, and I do most of my bigger day hikes are in the White Mountains of New Hampshire, where cell service is not very common. And I've found that using that InReach Mini is definitely peace of mind for my wife likes to track me on the GPS, and if I stop moving for a while, sometimes she'll be like, "Hey, you're taking a break?" And I'm like, "Yep, it's I'm not at the bottom of a cliff," but it's just nice to have that peace of mind. And it does have an SOS button on it, so I can call for help should something horrible happen. But that is the main thing on the outside of my pack. I'm still in the hunt for a good cell phone pouch that would go kind of like attached to the straps of the front of my pack. I got one from REI, but it kept slipping down, and I didn't love the way it attached to the pack. So the hunt is still on for that. So I still mostly keep my phone, which is my primary camera, for the hikes. I keep that in my pocket, and it's just fine. I mean, just my pants pocket is easy enough to reach. I'm mostly just nervous about dropping it out of there, but so far, so good.
I usually go shirt pocket, but I'm the same way. I'm looking for a dedicated strap pouch.
Yep.
Cell phone. If anyone happens to know one, please leave a comment. We both are looking for one of these packs.
Yeah, definitely. The one I have is the right size for my big phone, but it just like the attachment just doesn't hold. I hate the way it holds the bag. So.
You mentioned you've got the inReach for keeping track of your wife. I have a slightly different approach of just take my wife with me. This is her pack.
Nice. Yep.
She'd probably kill me for going hiking without her. Like she likes hiking probably more than I do. Well, that's a rip. These are the things you discover when you steal your wife's pack while she's out of the country.
Yep.
Later. Anyways, so let's kind of go to the inside of the pack.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go from the front. So what I've got on the outermost pocket here is a nice little headlamp, and this is a Quetzal Tika or Tika, and it's just this one will do red and white, but I just keep that outside. I've gotten stuck hiking at night when I was like expecting to not be hiking at night, and the sun goes down, the map was wrong, and suddenly I'm doing an 18-hour day road walking in pitch black. So I've discovered I just want my headlamp handy.
Oh yeah, indispensable.
Yeah, what do you use for lighting?
Yeah, so I keep mine. I've got my hip belts here, or hip pockets that are just right down, always in reach, and not to be confused with inReach. This is apparently not the side that I keep my headlamp in, but let's see. Here we are. So I tend to keep my headlamp in there, and I've got this night core over here. It's USB rechargeable, which I like. I had one that was battery, and I know that's good in terms of safety, but I always carry a battery pack with me as well. So I feel like having something that's USB-C rechargeable is definitely, it's been a nice thing to have, and it's so lightweight. I love this thing. Thankfully, it's funny. I've been surprised how little I've actually needed it, but it's one of those things when you need it, it's indispensable to have it. So it just tends to go on a ride for most of my hikes, but it's always there.
I'm not carrying spare batteries, but I've got that, and I always have a flashlight in my pocket. So
Yes.
if battery dies, I have it there.
Yep.
Okay, you want to grab something out of your pack to talk about it?
Sure. I mean, I was kind of looking at my my hip pockets here, so I tend to have I've got my headlamp and USB cable and navigation supplies. So I've got a compass, and I usually carry a map. The latest one I have in this pocket here is from my most recent hike, which was in the North Country of White Mountains. Can't really see, it's washed out there in the camera, but so I've got I usually have a paper map and a compass, but of course I also use my phone as well for navigation. But on the other side, I have any like kind of small snacks. I also keep rehydration tablets in there too. My favorite ones lately have been these salt stick chews here. I love how easy it is. You don't have to mix it with water or anything. You just literally just kind of put a couple of these, just like take a couple of these and just let them dissolve while you're hiking. And just they taste good, and they're cheap enough. I mean, it's you get 60 of them for, I forget how much this costs, like $18 or something along those lines. So not too bad. And I keep like a package of wipes in here as well, and usually a Ziploc bag for carrying out any trash. I do have a thing of, this is beat to heck. I actually kind of forgot this was in there, but a thing of liquid IV over here too, in case I do want to mix it with water. But that is what's in my hip pockets, so kind of easily accessible.
Because that may be something I want to add. Are those basically just sodium tablets? Like
yeah, well, they're sodium, potassium, and I believe calcium. Let's see, sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium. Little bit of sugar, I think, just for flavor, but hardly any sugar actually. 2 grams and 2 tablets, which is not too bad.
Yeah, what I primarily use for food, and my wife packed this, which is why there's way too much of this stuff for a day
Yep.
hunt. But this good old raisins and peanuts.
Yep.
I've bowel issues that nobody wants to know about, so I've added to this for the fiber.
Yep.
And as I said, this is way too much for a day hike, but I wasn't the one who packed it. And I'll frequently also just have a separate container of peanuts, which look at this. I've got way too much food in here. And I discovered my wife's got like an ancient bar somewhere in here. Yeah, I'm not going to dig it out.
Oh yeah, my food bag is always rather big too. Let's see, I've got that over here. I have a little bit of everything in here, from beef jerky to instant coffee. Should I be doing an early day hike and forgot to have coffee for some reason? I've got so many things. Actually, mostly what's in here is just extra little like beef sticks and whatnot for protein. I've got some Sour Patch Kids, although I find those have too much sugar in them. A lot of folks, I mean, I like Sour Patch Kids, but when I'm hiking, it's almost, I'm not used to having that much sugar, so those are actually not, those are probably going to come out of my bag. But yeah, I always have a pretty beefy food bag in there. Because a lot of times too, like when I'm climbing or when I'm out on a day hike, most of my day hikes involve like at least 2,000 feet of elevation gain, if not, up to 5,000-6,000 sometimes. So I definitely go heavy on the food, because I'm burning a lot of food while I'm hiking.
Where I am, I'm mostly in Texas state parks, and it's rarely very vertical. You tend to be pretty flat unless you go out West Texas. So you mentioned whites.
Yep.
I carry the classic mountain.
Oh, yeah. I think I have one of those in my bag, actually, deeper in one of the recesses. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've got that up towards the top where.
Yep.
Accessible. I put this stuff back in as we're talking.
Yeah, that reminds me. I've got a trowel in there too. I think I tend to keep things that I may need in a moment's notice. Oh yeah, here it is, right in the very top, the top pocket here. Got the trowel there. Cat holes. When you need to dig one, you don't want to be digging too far into your bag to find it. So.
I'm not sure if you've seen this, but mine. I normally don't carry one with me.
Yeah.
That's an issue. But to be honest, the TP's mostly for the wife.
Yep.
I've found the Deuce of Spades is a great name, so that's worth taking a look at.
Nice.
Incredibly ultra-light for that. Let me just pop open the rest of this. Yeah. So I've got a dry sack with a small kit. And I discovered this morning there's stuff that should be in here that isn't. Also, it's got my wife's name on it, so I might just have hers in here, and that might be why it's missing things. Usually we hike together, so like as long as somebody has stuff, we're okay.
Yep.
And dump everything out here. Can go through it later. I've got your classic Bic lighter, one of the mini Bic. This is this is an art. I think this is I got. But basically, storm matches with a
so handy. Yep.
And in here,
I think I instantly recognize that, which is why I believe I have one of those. If that's not in this pack, I know I have it in one of my packs, but I have that exact orange same piece. I love that everything's just all together, you know.
And I've got a fire starter with just cotton. Honestly, I should replace that, and I'm probably going to replace it with a lint from the dryer, because dryer lint is one.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah.
A little bit of cordage. Honestly, I'm not sure what I'd ever use that for, but I carry it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
With this being Texas, the most valuable thing in here is a Sawyer filter.
Yes.
This is the Sawyer squeeze, not the mini, because I've had 2 minis die on me under relatively light use.
Mm-hmm.
And a container to attach that with.
Yep.
I used to have a Survive Outdoor longer bivy in there, and it's missing, but there's one in my wife's pack. So I'm guessing she stole it at one point and somehow I ended up with her emergency kit. Find it quickly. Yeah, these things. It's basically except in the shape of a sleeping bag.
Yep.
There you go through these. I don't know, Mark, you mentioned, like, do you carry any of the, like, fire starting water purification with you?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to keep those kind of essentials. They usually live towards the bottom of my bag. It's similar to you. I mean, I have kind of individual stuff sacks for each kind of individual thing. I do have a dry bag here. I believe I think the blue one, I try to keep them color coded. I've got an orange one for clothes, and I've got a blue one here with anything that is in any way electronic. So I believe I actually have that battery backup pack in here. I also have a weather radio, which is handy to have in case I am, in a situation where the weather could be changing quickly. I just always keep this in there as well. And weather does change very quickly up in the whites, so it's one of those things where I like to, even if I don't have cell service, again, the inReach, I think technically I could probably get weather updates through there, but I like having the radio as well. So that's electronic items, but I also do have a first aid set that's in its own separate little bag here. First aid kit. Thankfully, I haven't needed this, but it always goes with me on my hikes. And then, yeah, I've got I think one of those reflective blanket kind of deals in here tends to go with me everywhere as well. Just the kind of stuff that, you definitely, if you need it, you'll be glad you have it. And somewhere I also do have a dedicated, so I believe I actually have my fire starting supplies in the center pocket here. So that is a little easier to access. So I can, in case I decide I want to bring a little more in-depth food for cooking, here it is. Got another one of those matching orange bags over here. Is this? Oh, yeah, here we are. I have that exact same orange fire starter kit there. I love that it's all self-contained.
Yeah.
Like you said, though, the dryer lint is definitely a much better fire starter than than they have. They tend to provide in there, but at least it comes with something in a pinch. As far as water filtration goes, I found in this little bag I bring as a backup some of these the tablets. So it's just a nice backup in case for whatever reason I have any trouble with my actual filter. But the filter I've been using is the Catadyne Be Free over here. I've found I like how quickly it filters. I also do have a Sawyer filter as well, but I think it got to the point where I needed to replace it. And I've seen a lot of thru hikers use these, and it is very light. And I love that I can just kind of jam it in the same section of my bag with my water bladder. I just kind of stick it right in that same zipper section, so I never have to wonder where it is. And it's just like I literally, when I'm not using it, I just fold it up and it takes up hardly any space. So that goes for a little ride there in my bag. But yeah, that's as far as preparedness stuff. I mean, I've got a few other things in here too. A little cordage in a bag. Like you said, I've never really needed cordage, but I mean, if I had to like tie a splint to my leg or something, it's one of those things. Who knows? You know, nice to have. But
actually, both of these. If I'm going backpacking, I just take these out of my day pack and drop them in the
yep.
back.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
I used to have a phone charger battery in here, and I have no idea where that went. So that's why I'm. It's also got my wife's name on it, so I think we got them confused at some point. That's probably why I don't have it.
Yeah.
First, I bought one of these little $15 kits from Walmart. But
Yep.
the Adventure 5 one is actually pretty good. And then
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of augmented this thing by adding one of those emergency blankets we just talked about, a 4-inch compression dressing,
Yep.
packing gauze, and tourniquet. So, like, I do have some trauma medicine capabilities in here, and
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and my wife has one of these without the trauma stuff in it.
Yeah, you know, that's the kind of stuff. It's, you know, you hope you never need it, but if you ever do, you'll be glad you have it.
Yeah, I mean, this is mostly stuff to keep you alive until emergency services show up if something really bad happens.
Yep.
And that still fits in the same pouch that it came with. So, and just quick plug, the actual outer kit is from Walmart for like $15, $20 now, probably. The guts inside are from Refuge Medical, and they make some amazing first aid kits, which are more expensive than I can afford. What do you have in terms of jackets and shelter in your pack?
Yeah. So, as far as shelter goes, it's mostly just kind of like I've got an emergency bivvy. It's mostly emergency supplies. I'm kind of between tents. I have a very large tent that I would toss in the back of my car if I were going camping, but I don't really do a ton of camping. So I mostly carry stuff with me in case, like, if I was unexpectedly had to spend the night outdoors, then I would at least have minimal supplies. But I don't tend to bring a lot of a lot of overnight stuff with me. Though thankfully so far I haven't needed it. But yeah, I don't really do a whole lot of camping as of yet. Mostly because I'm pretty much it when it comes to the really hardcore outdoor stuff in our family. That's kind of my lane.
Yeah, if I tried to go without my wife, she'd kill me. So as I said, her day pack too.
Yep.
So do you carry like rain gear or anything like that?
Yeah, I tend to pretty much every hike. I always bring my waterproof shell, which is it's actually, you know what? I think it's actually out in the closet right now. I don't think I have it with me, but I have a Columbia. Just again, it wasn't anything expensive. I think it was literally $35 at REI, but it really is. It's great. It's breathable. It's lightweight. It's packable, so it just packs into its own pocket. And that always goes with me everywhere. And, I can't tell you how many times I've needed it on a sunny day because it actually is the best thing I have for blocking wind. But yeah, it's really good for that. And I also have a lightweight down jacket. Again, REI. I got it on sale for, I think it was $50 or $60. So it was a really good deal. And it's super lightweight, so it packs really small, but that tends to go for a ride in my bag too.
Okay.
Especially good in shoulder season like now.
One thing I usually carry is a rain shell, and this is genuine frog dogs once again from Walmart.
Oh, frog dog's great. Yeah.
I used to wear a shell. I bought that when I was single and had money.
Yep.
And so I can't justify spending the money to buy another one at this point.
Yep.
But I don't carry anything that's like insulated warm. Normally, like Texas, 9 months out of the year is stupid hot. Night, I've got an emergency blanket. I've got a bivy. There's a bivy, and I need to figure out why there isn't another one in there. But like if it's cold out, usually I'll throw a soft shell jacket on, usually a condor jacket, and that's about all I'll bring for like. When it's really cold, I'll add a Rothko M65 jacket, and that's so when I lived in Massachusetts.
Yep.
And my gloves and hat and everything live in that coat pocket. But it's rarely a concern where the temperature will drop significantly during the day.
Yeah, I found I do really well with just layering. I mean, in terms of like how I tend to dress, because like the weather is famously changeable where I like to do most of my longer day hikes. Mostly, I usually wear, actually, I mean, what I'm wearing now is I tend to wear a lot of these, even just daily living, these moisture wicking, just I think polyester blend shirts. I usually get them. I just monitor Costco, REI, Walmart, wherever I can get one for 10, 12 bucks. Usually I'll pick up another one, add it to my drawer, and I wear them a lot. And I also, REI recently had a sale. It was, I think it was around the end of summer. They had a sale where I was able to pick up another one. They make a really good, it's technically a base layer. But it's just a long sleeve. It's just a moisture wicking sweatshirt, and I find the weight of it is just right. It's very lightweight, but it's just warm enough that I usually I usually wear that in pretty much anything below about, I don't know, 50 degrees. I'll be wearing that, and it's kept me comfortable on hikes even in the 20s, teens even, because I run hot. I sweat so much, and I want to try to limit the amount of layers I have. I try to limit my sweating. So I find just that with my base layer is usually enough when I'm moving, even when it's 10, 20 degrees out. Once I stop, I'll throw on, I'll maybe change that out for a dry one for my bag when I stop, just so I'm not sitting in my own sweat. And then maybe throw on my wind shell or wind and rainproof shell just to, try to keep myself warm. But that's pretty much most of when I'm hiking. That's pretty much it. My down, I find it's good, but I don't love when it gets wet. It's not great. Doesn't keep you very warm when it's wet, and so again, it's not something I would wear when I'd be sweating. So it's good. Again, it's one of those things I'll throw it on if I stop. But the down mostly I found goes for a ride in my bag, and it's just good to have. But yeah, those are most of the layers I tend to go through.
Yeah, I tend to use moisture. Generally, when I'm day hiking, I don't switch out layers because
Yep.
It's stupid hot in the morning, stupid hot at night.
Yep.
It's hot. And like I wear a long sleeve, and I'm not sure if this is technically a moisture wicking shirt, but it's a very lightweight. And I wear long sleeves because otherwise my arms sunburn like crazy.
Yeah.
And like when it's 100 degrees out, you don't want short sleeves because
yeah, that's true. Yep.
So you kind of want to keep that off me. That was what I found. Trying to think if there's anything else in here. Oh, you mentioned this and we didn't go over it in detail. But in the back, I drop my food. As you can see, I've got a hose for the water.
Yes. Yep.
Carry 3 liters of water, and I've found even when it's stupid hot, that generally is enough for me. What do you usually go with?
Yeah, I usually go with, I think it's actually my bladder here that snaps into my bag. I'm just going to unclip it from the tube there. But yeah, I think this is actually a 2.5 liter. I find the 2.5 liter, it gets me through most hikes. When it's really hot, I usually do finish this off. So I usually do carry just an empty plastic water bottle. One of my, I think I got one from, this is a big one here, but I have some of these Camelback bottles. This one's bigger than I would tend to bring with me. But I tend to have a Camelback that goes along on the outside. So if I need to filter any additional water, it's just quick. And it's great because I can add rehydration powder to that bottle as well. A lot easier than if I were to try to put that in here. And also this, I only ever put water in this because less to clean after the fact. It's a lot easier. I just rinse it out and then let it dry. But yeah, that's pretty much my water system. Is the hydration bladder is my primary source of water, and then I supplement with additional water bottles as needed.
Yeah, my wife's, I think, is only a 2 liter that she's got here.
Yeah.
But then again, she's small, and half the time will steal my water.
Yep.
And then, as I said, if I'm going to be around stupid people in summer, I carry rescue water to pass along to others.
Yeah. No, that's a smart idea. Yeah.
I think actually to a British person in Austin. As weird as that sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that you want to go over?
I'm trying to think. I mean, I think we've covered a lot of the bases. I mean, covered most of what I have in my pack. I'll say this is something I've found just through I don't know why I hadn't thought of this before, but this nice front section here in my bag, it dries out and drains easily. It has little holes in the bottom. So anything that could get wet or dirty, I tend to put in there. So I've got like a little moisture wicking towel here that's good for drying off my feet in case I need to take off my shoes and ford any water crossings. I've got my sit pad that I put down for, if I'm stopping for a break or anything like that, goes in there as well. So anything that could get dirty or wet tends to be in that front section. I also throw my, if I do, wear anything like my rain shell and it gets particularly wet, it's a great place to kind of just shove that in to kind of let it just not make everything else in my bag wet. But that's pretty much. I mean, outside of that, I have a few. I'm trying to think of a few other odds and ends that go for a ride with me typically. But I mean, I know I have a few additional things in my kind of front zippered section here. Got my fire starter supplies over there. Hand sanitizer should that be needed. My bug net. That's thankfully we're getting to the time of year where I need this less, but black flies are real crappy, and mosquitoes, of course, too. Real crappy thing to deal with on a lot of mountaintops in New Hampshire. So and around here too. Oh yeah, and I've also got hand warmers that tend to go in there. Again, you never know. In the White Mountains, it can get pretty cold pretty quickly, and I don't currently have my gloves and my hat in there, but those will be going back in my bag because we're in that time of year where mountaintops could be 50, 60 degrees, or they could be 20, or I mean, who knows? It's this is definitely that classic time of year where you just don't know what to expect exactly. Going into each month, it's getting colder, but that's pretty much the majority of what I have left in there. Supplies. I try to cover the 10 essentials, right? You've got water, food, first aid, navigation. Trying to think, shelter. So I try to cover everything, even if it's just with like one or two kind of things, just to make sure that I've got all the 10 essentials covered there.
Now, what do you find for hiking in New England? People usually mess up that gets them killed. Like any thoughts?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, a lot of times people, they underestimate the changeability of the weather. I know there have been a couple sad cases not too long ago where people they'll just be underdressed and they won't have enough layers with them. And there was one sad case with I believe she was 19. I think she was going to be turning 20. And she was trying to get her New Hampshire 48, the 4,000 footers done before her 20th birthday. But she had done most of her hiking in the warm weather months and had to that point not experienced real winter conditions. And she went out in October and she was going to try to do the Franconia Ridge Loop, which is a famous, like, just gorgeous loop. But it was already snowing as of when she was starting, and she was not at all dressed for the conditions. And sadly, she ended up not making it. So that's a lot of the problems are things like that. The majority of the injuries that we get are lower leg injuries, like ankles, and leg injuries, like there's a lot of rocks, a lot of places your foot can just slip and just I mean it's lower leg injuries are incredibly common. So that's why I try to, like, if I have cordage, so I can use one of my trekking poles and make a makeshift whatchamacallit, straighten out my leg. Yeah. Things like that. And also the inReach is great. If I can't self-rescue, it's unfortunately they're always getting called to go out. I see all the stories from New Hampshire Fish and Game of, they have to go out and rescue someone else with a lower leg injury. I mean, it can happen to anyone, anytime, but I try to be as prepared as I can.
Yeah. And here, the big issue is the heat and people usually not hydrating or not wearing clothing. And by proper, I mean like covering their skin. You'll see somebody go out with like t-shirt or like an A-frame undershirt.
Yep.
Trying to hike
Oh gosh,
in that.
yeah.
They just like burn up.
Yeah.
He was a rabbit. Which is once again why I'll bring extra water in the summer to pass along. But that's definitely here is people not bringing enough water. And some of the state parks even have signs saying you must bring a certain amount of water. I think it was Government Canyon State Park has signs up about the heat level there.
Yep.
I think we've kind of gone over everything in both of our packs. Hopefully this was useful to people who are potentially throwing together a pack for day hiking and anything else you'd need a pack for hiking ballpark 15 miles. I might limit my knees start having problems at about 10 to 12, but
usually that's the majority. I think I don't think I've done a day hike above about like 15 miles. That was about the extent of what I've done recently.
Like the longest I've done is 18, and that's when a lot of things went bad. That was planned, and that became 18. Okay, well, I think that pretty much covers it. Thanks for joining me to go over the packs and see what we need, what you use in a very different climate and kind of different situation.
Absolutely. Great to talk.
Yeah, and tell your wife I said hi.
I will. Same for you.